can you show thanks at work without it feeling cringy? It's almost Thanksgiving in the US. And yes, some other countries have their own Thanksgivings or version of it at different times of the year. But whether it's a holiday or reminder, it can be helpful to show gratitude at work. In this video, we'll talk about why it matters to your team, why it matters to you, and how you can do it in ways that genuinely feel meaningful. So why it's important to your team. You may know, people like to hear thank you. But it's worth repeating. People really like to hear thank you because they often don't hear it enough. At work, a lot of times people have this expectation. Like employees have the expectation that they're going to come to work and just try to do their best to get through the day. And they don't hear things like a compliment or a thanks for doing their job. And plenty of those in management have the viewpoint of your paycheck is your thanks. But as humans, there's so much about work from a time and energy perspective. A lot of people put their identity in their work or parts of it. And so when you do it and don't get basic appreciation back, it can really impact how you feel about yourself, how you treat others. And so while yes, things like a paycheck matter greatly, there are other aspects that impact how people work and how people live in their lives outside of work. And a big part of that is gratitude. In the description, the notes, I'll link to some articles about that from a data perspective. But overall, time and time again, it shows that people want to get some basic recognition when they do something, whether it's their same job day in and day out, or whether they've worked hard for something. When you do it, sometimes people really want that basic and genuine thank you, or to hear that feedback. And so when people hear that, they may have gone, it's like walking in the desert, and getting that thank you and that recognition can feel like water. And people don't realize how much it means to them. And we'll talk in the how you can do it of ways that can make that feeling even more. Because sometimes people hear thank you or great job. And totally, that's better than nothing. But when you specifically talk about what someone did and the impact it had and that they had that impacts how that person feels in the moment and has ripple effects that can carry from how they work the rest of the day to when they're going home, to when they're sitting around the dinner table. They're out with friends, they're out with their family and saying, look at this email I got from my boss today. Those are things that really happen. And so as a manager, you may not have control over everything, meaning things like pay or bonuses, and sometimes it can be hard. And while you can work towards what you can do to change that, the one thing that you can control often is giving that gratitude, especially when it's been deserved. Now, the flip is also gratitude can impact you as a manager, because the data likewise says when you show gratitude to people, whether it's colleagues, your team members, that can have very real benefits for you. It can help you to have that appreciation of your job. It can help you physically and mentally. It's like often people will say, giving a gift, it can be better than receiving. And I'm sure you can think of gifts or things that you received that you're like, no, it was pretty good to receive that. But when you show gratitude and you think intentionally about what the others do on your team, including if you haven't done that for a while, there's plenty of people at work, and maybe you watching this, that you're like, I'm not a gratitude journal person. I'm not a meditation person. I'm just trying to get through my day. And that's totally understandable. But when you do take that time and even write list of things, whether you call it gratitude, whether you call it things people have done that I appreciate, whatever is comfortable for you, realizing the benefits that you feel, it can help you to be centered. It can help you to be, again, that same moment in that day, change how you go about that day and the next day, and often how you think about your career. And so the point of this is that the benefits of gratitude can be for those people that you're saying it to, but also to yourself. So the question is, how can you do it? And I say at the beginning, ways that don't feel cringy. Because if you are one of those people, or whether you're someone that's I want to show gratitude, but also I don't want it to feel forced. Again, completely understandable. Because if you do have things like every Monday, I'm going to tell my team I appreciate them, or say the same thing every day to my team, appreciate you, fair enough. And again, better than saying the opposite or saying nothing at all. But the point, as I said earlier, is having that specificity. So as you think about first what you're grateful for, sometimes it's writing a list. So it's those members of your team. And what am I grateful for different people? Some people may come really easy. You're this is my person. I count on them for anything. Other people, you're I'm grateful-ish that they're there, but really think about that. What are things that they do? Like, is it a situation that they brought something up and you think differently from their perspective? Every single person on your team, whether they're your strongest performer, or where you're thinking, like, this is this person that honestly sometimes makes my job harder, those people serve a purpose, and the way that you work with those people can change how they work and how they live. And so sometimes it's listing those out. But think about what you're grateful for in those people or the experiences. Or if there's other colleagues, whether they're not on your team, or even senior leaders, like, who are the people that I'm grateful for? So sometimes it's that first exercise of thinking who that is. The second is, how are you going to do it? And sometimes it is thinking about your comfort level. That it is important that it feels natural, because there's some managers that are like, I have no problem saying anything to anyone. There are others that are like, I'm super uncomfortable. I feel like it's just going to come off like poorly. And so being flexible, whether it's writing a note, writing them an email privately, literally writing them a hand note or a card, whatever that looks like, or saying it. Sometimes it's saying it in a team meeting, saying it individually. It can often mean thinking about things. Like if you're making that list and you're like, okay, this person, it comes across super easily. They're people I struggle for showing gratitude. Then that may be a situation that's probably better to show privately, because no one wants to sit through a meeting where their colleague is getting this like genuine kudos. Then it comes around to your turn and it's like, thank you for being here. So sometimes it is that private moments, and there's ways you can do the both. And your environment can be different. Some people are in an office environment. So you have a team meeting in a conference room, and then you have maybe individual one-on-ones. You may be virtual. So you're having a virtual meeting, then maybe virtual meetings. You may be in like a shift environment. So you're on your feet. You're in healthcare, manufacturing, retail. So you may have quick pre-shift, post-shift huddles, or stopping through people on the day as you see them. Whatever it looks like, and often it can be helpful to have a message to your team. If you're in the US, having this to your team genuinely and saying, before Thanksgiving, for example, like, I just want to tell you all that I know we get through work and we get the job done, but we're all people and we're here, and I appreciate what you all do. And if you haven't had these conversations and you're worried about how they're going to be received, sometimes it can be helpful to say, I know, as I think about it, I haven't shown my basic appreciation enough. And so I want to be, as I see things, say things as I see them, like show appreciation for it. And it's something I'm working on as well. But there's a lot that I appreciate you all about, not just being here and doing your work, but who you all are and what you contribute to the team. Ways that you can say that, again, whether it's a pre-shift, post-shift huddle, in your meeting. And even encouraging that amongst your team members. Because it's not just you as a manager. You set that tone and that ripple effect. But telling colleagues, saying, again, I know as you work through things, we work together, we get things done, but showing that appreciation as well. It doesn't take any job title to be the one showing thanks. And so as you see others doing things, tell me, because as there are ways that we can recognize and show that, I want to know as well, because I don't see things, including as often as you may think I do. And so that's how you can really create that culture. And then it can be one-on-one. So again, whether it's a one-on-one meeting or whether it's a note, but saying that specificity is really helpful. So including saying, thank you, I appreciate, and saying if they worked on something in particular. Or if when you think about someone, you're like, they just make the workplace more pleasant to be around. Adding that and how that impacts things. Because you may think in your mind, like, okay, this is awkward for me, but flipping it and having the perspective on them. People at work often have, whether it's imposter syndrome or they're expecting the worst, people are often bracing to get criticized or afraid of doing the wrong thing. And they can't see what makes them really contribute as from their work or what they bring. And so you showing it from that different perspective can really light them up. And again, they're going on telling their friends and family about what they heard about themselves. So that's why it can be helpful to have things like an email or writing, because that's something you may think it takes 1 minute to put down. That person may carry that card with them for the rest of their career and life. They're moving houses. And so just remembering all together, gratitude matters and it can help you. But flipping it and knowing that you, in particular as a manager, giving that genuine gratitude and meaningfully to your team can have a huge impact on them. So don't discount that.